It's time to wake up. It's time to wake up. It's time to wake up. It's time to wake up.
There's something very exciting to come for our next session. All of you probably know that the effort to decarbonise transport is really coming along in small transport. Electrification of cars is really coming on at a high pace. A lot of companies are now transitioning to electric motors, and it's going very well. This cannot be said for heavy transport. It's a serious problem that's not yet solved in the industry. It might surprise you to know that since 2010, the carbon emissions from heavy transport have increased by 21%. So this is a growing problem. But if we want to meet our carbon goals set by the European Commission, by 2040, we need to reduce by 90%. We have a massive innovation gap. And together with us on stage, we have Joel and Philip. And it's a chance for us to really talk about the opportunities in hydrogen. So I'd start firstly with Philip. Can you tell us a bit, what got you into hydrogen? What was the very beginning for you in this journey?
So basically I was sick and tired of reading the newspaper. You know, you open up and see there's a huge problem and all we do is just talk. And I wanted to act. So talk doesn't cook the rice, and yeah, that's what we're basically doing, cooking a lot of rice.
I like that term,
yeah.
Cooking the rice.
Yeah.
You have to use that. So look, could you go a bit deeper into what your company actually does? I believe you've brought a video along for us to explain what the company is about.
Yeah, so basically we're focusing on decarbonizing mobility. And at the heart of it, to me, if I want to come from A to B, I also took the bus today, so we focus on public transport. And one of the biggest issues that the public transport sector has at the moment is they rely fully on fossil fuels at the moment. So we are starting to switch their fleets there. And what we do, or what I brought with me today, is what my company does. We build zero-emission buses. And our flagship, our first product is focusing on hydrogen. So we do hydrogen propulsion. We actually develop and build the buses on our own. So yeah. In terms of public transport, for me, it's at the heart of it. And we as a company, we want to start with projects. We want to show execution always beats the discussion. And even yesterday, I met Mr. Habeck and showed him my bus. I actually pulled him in front of it, took a couple of pictures, and yeah, that's what we do. We actually execute on public transport.
I can't let you pass that comment. You pulled Mr. Habeck in front of a bus, but you know,
yeah.
it was for the common good, it was for sustainability.
Yes.
So fantastic. Look, really interesting to hear your work. And now, Joel, across to you. You're really looking at mass production of hydrogen in high energy areas. Could you tell us more about it? But before we do that, what got you started on the hydrogen journey?
Well, I understood very early that when we want to succeed in the energy transition, we need to make use of green hydrogen. Yeah? Green hydrogen as an energy carrier is very potent. The energy density is very high. And of course, as we do not have the grid capacities, when we scale up green energy production, we can make use of green hydrogen locally, produce it, and have several use cases such as public transportation where we can integrate that hydrogen which is produced locally. So we create value where we have the energy, which is even an overcapacity, and that we can transform into green hydrogen. This is what we are doing at Infener. We are creating hydrogen hubs as a network across Europe in order to also increase the necessity to further invest into the green energy generation. That's what we are doing.
Yeah,
fantastic.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
And just, I want to take 3 steps backwards now. What did each of you study? I always find that fascinating. Did you study business? Did you study engineering? What was it for you, Joel?
I mean, I got to know about hydrogen already at the university. And of course, for me, it was always the question like technical solution and also economic efficiency. How can we merge these two fields? Because lots of people are talking about green hydrogen and call it the champagne of the energy transformation. And in fact, of course, today it's still expensive, but that's why we need clear regulations in order, of course, also to bring the cost down.
I always call it the bread.
Okay.
Bread and butter.
So I was inspired by these two fields, bringing together economic efficiency and also technical feasibility in that development field of green hydrogen.
Fantastic. And Philip, what did you study at university?
At first, I wanted to be an investment guy, you know, Wall Street kind of guy, and make money. So that's what I always say. I try to make money, second I try to make money, and then I want to do something good for the economy. So I studied with like macroeconomics and business studies. But then the nerd inside me kind of made his way through, and I studied basically engineering.
Okay.
And I wasn't scared anymore about the, how do you say, the exams. I actually made it quite well.
Okay.
And yeah, that brought me here today also. Yeah.
Fantastic. And then look, over to you, Joel. I want you to tell us a bit more about exactly how your product works and what your hydrogen stations look like. I believe you've brought a video along for us as well.
What, the video?
The video, yeah?
Yeah, is it already running?
It hasn't been run yet, no. Here we go.
No, not yet. Now it's coming. Okay, what you can see here is the first of its kind hydrogen production site with a 50 megawatt installed capacity of electrolyzer. We believe that innovation also has to come with design. We want to make the future not only cleaner, but also more beautiful, and their aesthetics also play a role. And this is a project in northern Germany, in Neumünster. It's a lighthouse between the Baltic Sea and the Northern Sea. We have a lot of offshore wind, and we are the first ones who have developed the process of making also use of the oxygen, which comes as a byproduct. Per kilo of green hydrogen, 8 kilo of green oxygen comes. And for that green oxygen, you have several use cases if you can dry it and fractionate it, and this is what we are doing here. Besides that, we also make use of the heat that is emitted during the production process. So when water is splitted, heat excess can be used in different use cases. For example, for local district heating or industrial processes. And this production site here in Neumünster is the blueprint that we want to show to the world and to bring attention to the topic of green hydrogen. And of course, we want to copy and paste that and run it as a franchise model around the globe. And of course, this is a great opportunity to have Philipp here sitting by my side, because this only can come together. We can provide holistic solutions to the market, bringing together transportation and production of green hydrogen.
Fantastic. And look, I want to go a bit deeper with you, Joel. Tell me, is this already funded, or are you looking for investment to get this project finished?
We are in very serious talks. We are already negotiating term sheets about that project. Lots of banks are currently attacking us because they want to be part of that. They see the scalability, but of course, banks is sometimes a bit difficult to negotiate. We all know that.
Yes,
and
of course, here,
like the Basel criteria is telling you can only have such projects financed when you have offtake agreements. And of course, on the customer side, you do not have the will to negotiate long-term delivery contracts. And that is a bit the thing we are balancing, but of course we are still open for investments for that project, which is an exciting project, as you obviously have seen in the video.
Yeah, well, who knows, there might be people in the audience here. And
Yeah.
the other thing is you need industry projects, just like having Philipp sitting next to you who can buy your hydrogen. What are some of the industries that you would be serving as your customers?
I mean, transportation industry, heavy-duty transport, trucks, long-haul trucks, of course, they have great opportunities, great advantages when making use of hydrogen. Of course, heavy industry, cement industry is very important for us. Refineries, they need hydrogen to clean their fuels. But of course, also glass industry is super important client for us in the future, steel industry. Of course, we will also need to import hydrogen and its derivatives, but more important is to create more resilience in our energy system, and this is what we can do when making use of the green energy, which is produced locally and integrated where it's needed, especially for communities where they are, by the way, forced to have decarbonized transportation, especially for buses till 2030. So,
100%.
Yeah. Yeah.
They just released a statement from the council on Monday,
Yeah.
which helps my business model.
Exactly, and ours as well.
Do you know, what I love about this as well is this really is one of those beautiful examples where we're not talking about theoretical projects. Your bus is on the streets, right?
Yes.
You're driving around. You are sucking, well, light out of the sky and splitting water and creating hydrogen and green oxygen as we speak. How many? You have sites already operating all around Germany, right? How many do you have?
I mean, at the moment, we don't have too many. We have small sites that produce hydrogen, especially at universities, of course, where research is being done. But we are also starting to partner in a project, a 5 megawatt project, which is in Bavaria. And like, when Germany wants to reach its targets till 2030, 10 gigawatt of installed electrolyzers capacity, we need to have more of these projects in a very high speed. So that's why we are creating now a project pipeline. But we do not only do these projects, we also integrate hydrogen solution into existing infrastructures, and we have our own product for which we just won the German Innovation Award, and this is also based on a hydrogen.
I think we need a round of applause for that.
Yeah.
German Innovation Award yesterday. Congratulations, fantastic job.
Thanks.
And look, now over to you, Philipp. I believe you've told me, you know, we had a shout out at the back. You were mentioning that this is more than just a physical infrastructure. You're trying to build an integrated platform, a digital, not even a digital twin, but a live system that tells everyone the status of your buses for public transport use. Can you tell us a bit about what that means?
Well, plain and simple, if you want to talk with the municipalities and cities, their problem is, I want to move a lot of people from A to B. So therefore, they need a lot of energy. So if you talk to the city, you always talk to the operators of the buses, and you also talk to the grid operators. And those two fields need to be connected. And therefore, I think there's a revolution going on in the background, also connecting AI. And I just see so much potential, just not just focus on the vehicle itself or the use case, but connecting also projects like yours and basically sell it as a package.
Exactly, yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, I think this is a good point to make, because we need functioning projects that show that there's a revenue model, there's a business case as well. And I think, you know, to get policymakers on board, also you mentioned the difficulty with banks, and this is a classic thing, innovation and banks. It's always a challenge because you have to show proof of revenue flow that you've got a business case. What help do we need from government now? Can you talk to me about what stumbling blocks we need to overcome? Linda was on the stage earlier. It's a shame we didn't get to catch him backstage, but what would you ask for from the government?
Can I get this one?
Yes, sure.
Very simple, less freaking talk, just execution behind the projects, you know, just a framework which gives security. Because all we did in 2008 with the banks was, you know, betting on a housing bubble. And that's something we can all bet on, which is our future. And let's say, how do we develop those projects? Because it's heavy asset, we need to move a lot of money. The industry is kind of old in the background, so we need to fund and give money to innovation projects. And that's, I think, always the disconnect. We are in the ramping up of hydrogen projects and not in the discussion or, let's say, R&D phase. Let's say the technical solutions are here. My bus is here, the refueling station is here. I just used it yesterday in Berlin. It works.
Awesome.
So why are we still discussing, is this better or this better? We need both anyway. And that's something I still don't understand. Get the politicians a little bit more balls, you know, and just stand for your project and get the funding going. Very simple.
Let's cheer for that. We need funding for hydrogen, guys.
Yeah, we need balls.
Yes,
We need balls as well.
Exactly.
Not for that, but yeah, sorry for that. My stupid expression. Just cut it out.
You know what? I want to actually address a point in there. I think that an issue is also education about hydrogen. We're often too far behind the ball. And, you know, I have to be fairly well versed in general sustainability issues. In the preparation for this panel, I learned how much I didn't know. And I think for policymakers, even for people in business that are working in energy industries, there isn't enough awareness about what's capable, what's possible if we actually invest in this. So where I'm getting to with this, firstly, I would love to ask you, Joel, not all hydrogen was made equal. There's multiple colors of hydrogen, green, blue, I've heard yellow, purple. Why is green hydrogen what we want, and what is that difference?
I mean, as we want to decarbonize the industry and as we want to have the supply all, I mean, especially talking for Germany, as they have really like a very tight schedule regarding the whole energy transformation. Of course, they want to build up all the capacities in order to produce green energy. And as we are producing green energy, we need to balance, of course, the demand and the production. So we have a higher level of overcapacity in Germany. We're cutting up 10 billion euro in terms of green electricity every year. So we can make use of that energy to produce a green hydrogen. And this is, of course, the right color for hydrogen. Of course, blue hydrogen can be also transformed to green hydrogen a bit later. But once we have the capacity in terms of energy generation, we will necessarily have enough of energy to produce green hydrogen for several use cases. That's why that's the right approach, and that's the way to go. And regarding the question Philipp was answering, when we were like scaling up the photovoltaic business in the beginning of the 2000s, we had the so-called EEG regulations. And this is the same what we would need also for green hydrogen. Then it would become easier also for decision takers to have the shift and cut off fossil fuels. So this would be something that would be very helpful.
Fantastic. And I think we can also have a round of applause for that, because I think the regulation environment is always too slow. In sustainability, you see that. And we heard it, as you said, when it came to photovoltaics, everyone said they're too expensive, there's no business case, and now they are cheaper than all other forms of electricity. And it'll be the same for hydrogen if we actually invest properly in this.
Exactly. It's the cheapest way of producing green energy now.
Fantastic. Look, I want to jump to, I guess, business now. what can business, if you're working in heavy industries, if you're in cement, if you're in global transport and logistics, if you're running buses, what can you do to speed up this process? What do we need to do to make this happen, to create a true hydrogen energy ecosystem for heavy transport? I'll start with you, Philipp.
For me, it's very simple. You just need to buy my bus. It's the most efficient on the planet that we currently have. And in terms of getting hydrogen on board into not just Germany, but Europe as well, and I also take blue hydrogen, I take the orange, as long as it's not CO2, let's say, dependent, and if it's gray or brown hydrogen, whatever you want to call it, I need to have it CO2 neutral and at a certain price, because then I don't even need any funding. I just want to benchmark the diesel, and I can do this today if you give me the right price of a kilogram of hydrogen.
Yep.
And I mean, the comparison even works from the stations or the price of kilogram that I pay at the station today. It's already possible. But we need to bring more vehicles into the field, quite simply, because we always use public transport as an off-taker for the rest of the infrastructure, because supply and demand is planned as the time schedule of the buses itself. We know exactly how much at what time, and that actually breaks even the refueling stations.
Yep.
I don't need the passenger cars to catch up.
Yep.
We are here before, but nobody cares about public transport. You just use it and complain.
Yeah. That's true. It's about awareness as well. Great. Well, and over to you, Joel. What do you need from business and heavy industry to really make this take off?
I mean, what we need to create, like, there's this chicken and egg thing, you know. Once there is no chicken, there won't be any egg. So, and that's the thing what we need to balance, like to create and to produce the green hydrogen, and then to have several use cases where it can be integrated. And of course, yeah, regulation is so important here. And of course, when we are talking about heavy-duty transportation, like in the Netherlands, there's now a program starting where the government is taking over 80% of the capex. So the capex is higher, of course, when you're investing. But on the OPEX side, if we compare that, I mean, we are already almost balanced between fossil fuels and hydrogen. And this is, of course, showing the way. And it will become very, very painful for lots of companies if they don't understand that mechanism. Because when we are reaching CO2 prices of 160 kilos per ton,
it meets in the middle.
Yeah,
that's true.
then we have a clear picture on how the future has to look like, necessarily.
Well, fantastic. Look, I think those are perfect words to end on. I want to thank our fantastic panelists, Joel from Infener, and as well Philipp from Arthur Bus. Thanks so much for coming here and talking about hydrogen. Let's have a loud round of applause. We need more infrastructure and deregulation to make sure this happens better for the hydrogen industry. Thanks very much, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's time to wake up.